Welcome back to the TDS Film Room. Today we're going to take a look at UConn's defense. We got some clips from their opening game against Wagner, a couple from their game against Illinois, and then a majority of the clips will be from last week's game against UCF. Just kind of look at what their base is and maybe how USF can take advantage of some of their looks. So their base is a 4-3, 4, possibly 4-2, depending on alignment and personnel. They may be this outside backer to the field, may be more of a nickel guy, but he'll also play in the box depending on formation. They like to play mostly two high safeties, but they will play some one high stuff, not only just cover one, but they'll play a little cover three as well. So they mix up coverage a little bit. But this is kind of, you're going to get a base even front here. Looks like an over front. You got a one tech and a three tech. Even though these guys are standing up, they're still defensive ends. So it's a 4-2 box right here with your third backer or your nickel outside. So let's kind of see how they play stuff. So right here with this stack, these guys are going to try to split the difference. So you see him displace a little bit before the snap. They want to split the difference between what would usually be the inside receiver and the tackle. Here, since they're stacked, he's got to split a little bit wider. So this is an alignment I think that USF can take advantage of, because we've seen them run this stack before, and now you're going to get a very good box to run into right here. It's functionally a 5-man box, and if you run zone, you can read the fifth guy, and now you have 5 linemen on 4 defenders and a read component. So if this is how they play, this is going to provide some interesting things for USF. One thing they like to do back here is they'll play a little bit of like traditional quarters. Some people call it cover 4 coverage, where I've got safety's got eyes on 2 if he's vertical. And if he goes to the flat, we've got other guys underneath for stuff. But he's kind of eyes on number 2 is kind of the key here for the safeties. So right here, Wagner runs zone. It may have been, they don't read it because they may be wanting to throw one of these out here based on numbers. But if he just goes to the second level here, and we read this guy like we just spoke about, well, now you've got a really good play on. If I have a lineman coming right here for him, now I got a pretty good play. But instead, they wanted to kind of tag this out here with it. So maybe not quite as good as you'd hope for. And you still have, you see the safety's eyes are out here. So that's kind of their base. So what gives them some problems? So UCF went really wide with their splits because they understood that this guy's going to come out over number 2, kind of wherever he is. And they like to split the difference out here. So bringing out, and then with motion, bringing out a third receiver, it kind of messes them up a little bit. There's a few instances where later in this game, he'll widen out, and then at the snap, he'll kind of vacate and leave nobody in the middle here. So this is possibly an area USF could take advantage of. So right here, just on alignment, even if he's got number 2, he's totally taking himself outside. There is a ton of space right here between these 2 defenders and this underneath kind of window to throw the ball, and that's exactly what UCF does here. Just there's all kinds of space. This is functionally the same thing as Y corner that USF's been running in the red zone a lot. With that, you'd have a snag by this guy, a corner out by 2 or 3, and the other one in the flat. So basically, right here, you got an X here, an X there, and an X there. That's where they'd end up on Y corner. Well, if you look, you just got receivers in that triangle, right? Triangles in the passing game are kind of um, important. A lot of people kind of use triangular patterns to kind of get guys in a triangle. It creates interesting problems for the defense. But here, this is basically the same idea, but just a different way. And you get the ball to somebody with a lot of space and make a safety breakdown and have to make a tackle. And he doesn't make the tackle, but luckily the linebacker for UConn, the linebacker gets out there and makes a play. So the motion kind of gave them some problems here. And another thing that's going to give you problems is there's nobody up on the line of scrimmage really affecting anybody's release. This is a tough look defensively. If you want to stay two high safeties, which a lot of people are moving towards more two high safety stuff, more quarter stuff. It's kind of ever evolving, but that was kind of one of the bigger things that the pattern matching. It allows people to play these guys in the run game as well, but it does offer some limitations, especially with these wide receiver splits here. There's nobody on either side over top of number two. So this guy's got a free release. If I have eyes on number two here, this is one of the bigger problems. And teams will have to kind of switch up their coverages if they want to stay in this quarters look. They have to kind of make an adjustment to it. And UConn didn't. Is I can push this guy vertical and I can just run him off here and he's going to take it. And with this wide split, if I just push him vertical, he's going to stay over here. Well, now I have a ton of space for one of these other guys to work in. I mean, that's a humongous window right here. So they're almost going to run like a switch verticals. I wouldn't quite call it a scissors because he looks to me more running. It could be a corner, but he's kind of turned up, so I think it's a switch vertical look. And then once he breaks outside, he's going to come underneath and get the ball when he hits about here in this gigantic window that's being created. Because it's not like a Tampa 2 look or anything where this guy's going to turn and run the pipe. They're kind of leaving this middle of the field wide open. So let's see how kind of UCF takes advantage of that. I think it's a switch vertical. It could just be the scissors combination. Scissors is a corner and then a post, right? It looks like a pair of scissors right there. It could be that. I think it's switch verticals just based on how the number two receiver ends up coming out of it. But again, he's got eyes on two. The safety's got eyes on two. Safety takes two, but now you got this guy basically one-on-one with a gigantic hole in the middle of the field. So right here, the safety, and with that wide split, you got the safety on the numbers down here. And this safety is outside the hash. There's just gobs and gobs of room open. You'll see here, nobody underneath gets in the throw. And this is the result. You break one tackle twice, I guess. But you go. And that's really just because of this. You basically take him out of the play with a vertical, and then now it's one-on-one between these two guys. It turns into now. And UConn is able to get a little bit of pressure with their front four. They're not terrible up front. I think their back end's probably pretty young. But so this is another kind of issue you get if you want to play like this. We discussed it earlier. I motion a guy out. Now you can see more of the traditional kind of 4-3 look. I still think this guy's probably a nickel, but he's coming into the box. So you have about 7 in the box. But they're going to motion him out. And when he leaves, he's going to leave. He'll widen a little bit because he has number 2. And now just right here, I mean, Look at this box pre-snap. It's a 4-1 box, basically. If I can block this front, I should be able to run zone, which UCF will run zone. And right here, they don't even read it or anything. It might be, they might have some type, this might be some type of RPO, so they keep him locked on to where he maybe can throw that right there. But if you just look at, he's going to take him, he'll stay locked. So it's not a traditional zone, right? It's RPO, so a lot of people will lock the tackle backside. Here, I can climb to there, there. Well, now you've got a hat on a hat, and if your guys do a decent job up front, you got a big hole, and your back makes a good play. This is what can happen. So this is one where you're almost killed just by your alignment right here. And again, he's got eyes on 2. So the reason people went to this quarters look and eyes on 2 is because they felt it allowed them, one of the biggest pluses is it's kind of changed now, but was when I read number 2, traditional, let's say number 2 is a tight end right here. So it's a Y right there. If my eyes are on 2 and he run blocks, well, since my eyes are on 2 and he's showing run, I can trigger for the run. And let's say they're doing that on both sides. Let's put like an F there. And again, let's say I'm reading number 2. Let's imagine he's in here. And I see run. Well, I can trigger for run now. And now I've got 9 in the box against run. Whereas if these guys show pass, well, then I can stay back in pass coverage. So it allows you to get extra players in the run game as well as maintaining your integrity in the pass game and coverage. What's happened with RPO stuff is now I'm reading number 2. Well, if he runs a route, I got to cover him. So just the nature of him running a route puts this guy in conflict, and that's not even the guy they're reading. So they're going to be putting the safeties in conflict because they have to cover the pass. So it's going to take them out of the run game and kind of nullify the reason you want to be in one of the big reasons you want to be in this. And now I'm going to read another guy, and he's late to the party because he goes out with motion. And so you don't get the run support you're hoping to get, and then you get creased. And UCF has a lot of speed and explosiveness, and they're able to hit those creases and create big plays. So they don't just sit back the whole time in that quarters coverage. They'll do some interesting stuff. Like here, I believe this is like a version of like, it could be quarter, half. They could be, but it looks like they're playing some type of trap up here where he's just going to jump inside and hope maybe to jump something out here. And then he can also come up and play run if they run it. So he can be a run support player. He's going to get over the top. Wisconsin did that a little bit. You may have seen that, and when USF played Wisconsin, they did some of that. But it's kind of like he's just going to jump inside of the snap, and then he can come up and play run. He'll be over the top if this guy releases vertical. It's giving a different look. They will play some cover too, so this could just be them playing quarter, half. But the way he jumps inside of the snap, he backs off, so I don't think he's blitzing. It could have been a corner blitz, but it could also be them playing some type of trap. All right, so here's an interesting an interesting look. So we kind of looked at if USF spreads them out, you maybe get a 4-1 box, and that should be advantageous in the run game. And there still should be some open windows to throw. One thing teams that want to play too high will do is we called it triangle where I was at, but it's like people call it different things. But really, what you do in that triangle is I'm going to lock up here. So that's man to man. Some people call it lock. different things like that. I'm going to play quarters, whichever way I want to play it here. But he'll have eyes on 3 backside. Because what people want to do is sneak 3 at the seam or sneak 3 on a crosser or something like that, right? So I've got eyes on 3. They think, okay, he's got eyes on 2, so they're going to lose 3. Well, he'll come back and have eyes on 3. Now, they do not do that, or at least they didn't here. They may have that in the playbook, but that's not what they call it here. This is a formation you'll probably see USF get into. And what they love to do is play action and get those tight ends, especially Wilcox, down the middle of the field. If this is how they play it, because you can see here, there's no number 2. The number 2 is the back. So this looks more to me like possibly cover 2, maybe, at least to the boundary. He's kind of squatting and jumps the flat route. It could be a variety of things. It could be quarter, quarter, half. Could be just quarters, like 2 read. But the safety is not playing 3 to this side. They end up throwing it out here on a little, almost like a flat screen is really what it is. They're just going to automatically throw the flat because they have numbers. Because it's basically there to there. You got the numbers cut there, blocked there. But I think there's also an opportunity to sneak this guy down the middle of the field. So they don't stay too high the entire game. They played a lot against UCF, but then they also will roll. So right here looks like they're rolling down to 3. He's rolling weak. Some people call that, I think, 5 if he rolls weak. And then UCF runs like an RPO. And I'm not sure what's going on here. It could be 1. They might be rolling to cover 1 here. Well, the corners are bailing, but I'm not sure what happens here. So that's kind of this guy is your nickel, and he kind of gets turned inside out down here. So that would be a guy possibly covering Johnny Ford, Bryce Miller, some of your better route runners, hopefully. So hopefully you can get that guy isolated and get some things like this going. But so they're not exclusively cover 2 or are too high. Oh, this is cut really late. All right, so this is the best clip I could get of this. But right here, they got a single high safety. They're playing cover 3. He's the flat player. He's going to fly to the flat. The quarterback doesn't notice him, and he's going to house this. So they'll show a lot of 2, or a lot of 2 high, a lot of 2 high, a lot of 2 high, and they'll come out with the 1 high. And if you're not prepared, quarterback tries to fit it in there, not realizing that you got a guy flying to the flat and a cover 3 look. And he takes it back. So they showed a little bit more 1 high stuff against Illinois. But then they'll do this too. So they're showing 1 high pre-snap. The safety's kind of displaced. So that could be a clue. He's not dead in the middle, but you also have your strengths over here too. So, but at the snap, the safety drops. So you'll see some variation. They'll show some 2 high, roll down to 1, show some 1 high, roll back to 2, and Illinois ends up dropping the ball here, literally. So And then they'll also go single high and play a little bit of man coverage, especially on the goal line or red zone, especially low red zone, like inside the 10. This seems to be cover zero, which a lot of teams will, play some different coverages in the red zone. But they'll get up and play some man. So here against Wagner, they're playing some man, but they get creased on a wide zone that the running back makes a pretty good cut at, and then he makes a safety miss. I don't know how great these guys are on the back end coming up and tackling. I think they're pretty young. I know the whole team starting. They have a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen. I think it's one of the highest rates in the country. So they're pretty young. Uh, so I'm not sure how great those guys are coming up and run support. They don't seem to be bad up front, but they're not world beaters either. So there's a safety, you make him miss, right? We always talk about get one on with the safety. There you go, you're one on with the safety. And this is just wide zone. Sees the helmet's coming this way, so he cuts it back. Good cut. Then he gets vertical, makes his safety miss, and he ends up scoring. So you see, coverage-wise, they'll play a lot of things. They'll play, here's just cover one. They'll play cover three. They'll play versions of quarters coverage. They'll play cover two. It looks like they might play two trap. They don't blitz a ton. I didn't see a ton of blitz. Maybe they'll do more against USF with that offensive line. Try to bring a little bit more pressure. See if they can make something happen. But I would anticipate them playing that too high look. I would imagine it's what they've shown most on film. They may come out and do something different, but anticipate looking for that too high split safety look. And I had an old line coach tell me if they come out too high, it should be a spit in the face to the offensive line because they're saying you can't run the ball. So hopefully USF's able to get them in that too high look, get some advantageous boxes, maybe get to that 4-1 box, run some read, even some quarterback run game if the quarterbacks are healthy enough. That's one factor that's going to be interesting to see. How much will they run the quarterback this weekend? Being both of your top two guys are a little banged up, and Barnett is kind of a game time decision, I guess, whether he'll dress or not. So how much will you run the quarterback? That's something that could probably help you a lot in this game. But with the health, that may be something they have to hold back on. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the battle in the run game on offense as well. We talked about previously against the UConn offense wanted to run. If USF's able to run the ball against some of these advantageous boxes, that'll open up a lot for them and get the offense going. So it'll be interesting to see how much too high UConn stays in. Do they feel good enough that they can stop the run in that too high look? Is USF going to be able to take advantage of the 4-1 box or the 4-2 box even? And then are they going to be able to take advantage of kind of the holes in the passing game and maybe able to hit some explosive plays down the field? We'll see Saturday, but should be an interesting matchup on that side of the ball.